Welcome to Redbeard Radio. I'm Brian Keith, and it is a rare treat that I get to interview someone who I have been following his work since before I started my business. Let me set the foundation for this guest. The year was, I don't know, 2010, 2011, and I was bicycling home from Seattle, near where I lived at the time. And I was bicycling along on a beautiful day, and I wanted to stop and read my book. Well, what book would I take with me bicycling? It was a little book by Mark LeBlanc. And it was a book that so encapsulated what it meant to be successful in small business that some years later, when I was speaking at Jermaine Griggs' convention, I actually just bought a crate of the books. Didn't have my own book yet. I thought, how can I really communicate value to all these high powered people in the audience? And I thought, aha, I'll buy a crate of Mark's books. I'll put my business card in them. Aha. And then they'll all just have this book to take home and they'll all think I'm really cool because I introduced them to Mark LeBlanc. Well, now, friends, I get to introduce you to Mark LeBlanc, and I could not be more excited. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Brian. It's good to be with you.
Now, I last saw you speak in 2015 on Mercer Island, which feels like forever ago. It was the third year of my business. I remember the room we were in, and I remember some of the stories you told about focus, about running your numbers, about treating yourself like a serious business and actually acting professionally with your goals and how you interact. You really just struck me as this is what I aspire to. Now, you've been in business a little bit longer than me, just a little bit, but I still have this feeling of, oh, yes, this is where I want to go. And one of the things that you talk about that I have a story about later is this achiever circle where you help business owners like me and like a lot of the listeners go and really take themselves to the next level, answer the call, if you will, of who they could become. I would love to hear about these achiever circles.
Thank you, Brian. And as I said, it's good to be with you. And it's amazing to me how fast 10 years can go by, or 6 years since the last time you heard me speak. You know, the Achiever Circle is a business development retreat that I created some 21 years ago. And I had this idea at the time, Brian. There were a lot of very smart, mostly men in the professional development field. Today, there are many more women who have risen to the ranks, but 20, 24 years ago, it was a lot of very smart, mostly men, but they were putting on these expensive boot camps. And it never really resonated with me. The essence was come and spend 3 or 4 days with me, and we're going to work from 8 in the morning till midnight every day, and we're going to throw everything at you but the kitchen sink, and you're either going to sink or you're going to swim on your own. And I thought, gosh, I don't think I would ever register for something like that. And I learned from a legend in the speaking world. His name is Joel Weldon. And one thing that I learned from Joel was when everyone is going one way, what would it take to go in the opposite direction? And I began to play with the concept of what would the anti boot camp look like. And I sat down, and in the course of about 3 hours, I crafted the anti-boot camp business development weekend retreat for up to 12 independent and practice professionals. And I was scared to death. I thought, this is so different. This is so unique. I just don't know if anyone would be interested in it at all. And I literally sketched out this weekend, and it starts at 3 o'clock on a Friday. It ends at noon on Sunday. We have a Saturday night dinner, and then we had 4 modules of roll up your sleeves working sessions. Plenty of breaks, plenty of breathing room in between the modules, and very focused work. And of course, I do take it seriously, but a lot of laughs along the way. And I printed out a 2-page text only, no logos, no photo, no description, or, no headlines or anything like that, just a straight text document. And I faxed it to 10 strangers, people that had heard me speak, that had given me good review of my workshop or seminar, but I did not know their names. I thought, If I send it to these 10 people and they don't respond, I'm not going to take it personally because one, I don't know them. And I sent out 10 two-page faxes along with a cover sheet for each one. And within 24 hours, two people had registered. And I thought, I'm on to something.
What year was this?
This was the year 2000. And I had plopped 3 weekends on the calendar. This was mid-March. I plopped weekend number 1 in April, number 2 in May, number 3 in June. And at that time, my confidence was so low that I thought if I could get 5 or 6, maybe 7 people to spend the weekend with me in a conference room, that would be great. Well, my first weekend I had 5, my second weekend I had 6, and my third weekend I had 7, and I was off to the races. And now we just completed weekend number 155. Little did I know, Brian, that the Achiever Circle would really become a key way that I would deliver my life's work and that I would become known for this anti boot camp. And part of the reason why I call it the anti boot camp, one, not just because of the format, but two, we only charge a $200 seat deposit. And then at the end of the weekend, people write a check or they put an amount on a credit card for whatever they're able to provide.
I have a story for you.
You do?
I once went to a 10-day silent meditation retreat called Vipassana,
Okay.
who, of course, claim their lineage directly from Buddha. And it's 10 days and they're hosted all over the world. And no speaking, no eye contact, no touching people, no meat or animal products, maybe some milk. Very intense. You're meditating for 8, 10 hours a day. They also say no drugs of any kind, including antihistamines, nothing. And my first time that I went to this retreat, it was in the height of summer, and there was wheat all around that they'd mowed down so we could go on walks. And let me tell you, Mark, I was just coughing and gargling the whole time in this big meditation hall because I had so many allergies. But I adhered to the rules, no drugs, so I had no Benadryl. Well, I eventually gave up. And they tried to make me stay, and I just gave up. They were letting me out because, of course, it's not confined. You can leave if you want to. And I went to go pay them something. And what did they tell me? They said, no, you're not allowed to contribute. We will not take your money unless you've experienced what we have to offer.
Mm.
And that's the only other thing I've heard that's like what you're describing, where you can't contribute to this mission until you're on board.
What an amazing experience.
I went back a couple years later and I actually finished it that time. I also wanted to quit about halfway through. Pro tip, anyone doing Vipassana, you will want to quit. Your body will tell you to quit. Hopefully you have the teachers that will convince you, like in my case, well, actually your back pain is probably emotional pain trying to get out through your body. So just breathe. And I finally finished it. But that just stuck with me, that you have to experience it. We're not just going to charge you, $10,000 or whatever at the beginning. You have to get it. And I look at your Achiever Circle, 152, you said?
155.
155. And I think, and everyone listening, think, what's a thing you've done 155 times? Tied your shoes, yes. Driven to work, yes. How many professional things have you done that many times? And there's a few things on my list, but you've hosted an event, a 2-day event, and almost all live, because they were always live until just recently, right?
They were in person, and now we do them virtually.
I have a confession, Mark. And you might not even know this confession, but it's a hallmark of Redbeard Radio that we occasionally hear embarrassing stories. And I have a feeling I know what's going to happen when I share this story, so it's extra trepidation. Last year, in 2020, I contacted Kylie, your assistant, to go get an Achiever Circle. I thought, you know what? It's time. I've got my business to the right level. I'm ready. And Kylie, of course, sent me the details. Here's the dates. Here's how everything works. And then you know what happened? I didn't go. I said, I'm not ready. I'm too busy. I have too many other things. And Mark, my list of excuses was fantastic. I was buying a new house, huge amounts of client work going on. I had so many important things happening, just got engaged. My excuses were beautiful. But now I look at that and I think, wow, 155 of these you've held. I've been to 0 of them. And I wonder how many other people we're going to, they're like, oh, yeah, this is who I am. I'm the kind of person who invests this in my company. And then they weighed that and they started looking at their excuses and they said, later, I'll do it later. There's plenty of time, right? I'm sure this is not the first time you've heard this from somebody that, oh, yeah, I was definitely going to go. And then they ended up not going. So I expect that you have some insight into the kinds of people who go, who say they're going to go, then don't, or who do that and then later on go and they say something like, oh man, if only I'd gone before because I actually was ready.
I certainly can share a thought. And the first thing I will say to you and to anyone listening, there always can be a reason for delaying something that is mission critical. And you were so kind to admit that you had a number of excuses. Most of the time, we all, and myself included, live in the land of excuses. We either do not have enough money, do not have enough time. Getting married, that's a good reason. Death of a loved one, a divorce, a move, those are good reasons for sometimes delaying something that is mission critical. Now, I'm no Dr. Phil, but it's also possible that one reason is you might have put me a little bit on a pedestal the last 10 years.
Could be.
And all of a sudden, it's like, oh gosh, I really want to do this. I know Mark. I've heard him speak. I love his work. He's the real deal. But maybe it'd be better if I went to an achiever circle when maybe my results were better, or he might be more proud of me.
Ooh, that's exactly it. It's I'm embarrassed because I'm not good enough. I read your book, I've attended your talk. I know if I just did what you told me to do, the book Growing Your Business tells me what to do. I read your book Never the Same. I read your book Defining You. If I did everything you told me to do, I know I'd be farther than I am. Right?
Hmm.
And all of us can feel that. All of us know, and maybe it's not Mark LeBlanc. You have someone else where you think, if only I did what I know I should do, I would be farther along than I am. And why aren't I?
And why do you think you're not?
I think it's a combination of lack of focus on just one thing, and not just for months, but for years. That's part of it. And the other part of it is I'm standing in the wrong place.
Mm.
That if I was standing in the right place, I could appreciate what happened in 2020 last year. A lot of things happened that year. How are my overall results? Most profitable year of my life. And I bought a new house, and I got engaged, and I got a dog. Like, this was an incredible year, Mark. And yet, as my friend Greg Jenkins says, we have to celebrate the milestones. And I am exactly who he's talking about when he says, as entrepreneurs, we do a crap job of celebrating milestones for ourselves. We're all there to celebrate others. But instead of saying, oh man, last year I didn't even go to the Achievers Circle, I'm just not ready. Instead, I could look at the most profitable year ever, all these amazing things. And yet it's easy to look at a thing and say, well, I'm not there yet. So that's part of it. The other part is the focus. And am I focused on having a handful of bigger clients or a whole bunch of smaller clients, or what I'm really focused on now, the Redbeard Accelerator, where I help businesses deploy more of the right systems in a group coaching format? Right now, I'm pretty focused. Now I'm doing one thing. And the answer to everything is, well, how can the accelerator solve that problem? And if it can't, that's not a problem I'm going to deal with right now. So now I'm focused. When I look at where I was back in October when I was looking at going to the Achiever Circle, I wasn't so focused. So I can see that in some ways I had to not go then so I could, well, regret it partly, right? And feel embarrassed, but also then say, okay, now I can go to Achiever Circle and I can say, I'm coming in here and I know what I'm doing. The Redbeard Accelerator. Do I have other products as well? Yes, I do. But I have a focus. And I also stand in a place where I can say, okay, last year, most profitable year ever in my business, fantastic, ninth year in. So now what am I doing this year? And how am I going to use my focus and use the transformation delivered by the Achiever Circle to post my new most profitable year?
May I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Before I ask the question, I'll share a thought. And the thought is most of us along the way at any given time on the focus spectrum, think of focus as a degree. Maybe 10 or 11 years ago, when you first met me or read my book, I was probably 68% focused.
Mm-hmm.
6 years ago, I was probably 86% focused. Today, I'm probably 97% focused. So, focus is nothing more than making decisions and having the discipline to see them through. But if a year ago the excuse was I'm not quite ready or I'm not quite focused, and 12 months later you're looking in your rearview mirror saying 2020 was the most profitable and best year of my 9 or 10 year entrepreneurial journey, then I think what I hear you say is that now you are ready, or what can then happen in your shoes, it becomes, well, I wanted to be more focused. Now I am. Now it's possible to have that perfect storm in your mind of, I'm not really sure I need it right now.
Well, that's just the thing. It's like going to Vipassana. No one has 10 days of their life to go be silent with no electronics. No one. But the people who go and do the work, they come back transformed forever.
Forever.
I met the co founder of Redfin at Vipassana. You know, Redfin, like Zillow, that company?
Yes.
And it's now silent meditation, Mark. So 10 days of you're not talking to anyone. But on the last day, to help you readjust to being a normal human, you get to talk with people. So the last day shows up, and I think I've been living around these guys, like 30 guys, and there's women there too, but it's all gender segregated. And I think, I guess I should go talk to someone, I guess. And Mark, the people who go to Vipassana are the most wild people around. One guy was walking from Canada to Mexico for no particular reason and just decided to stop by for 10 days. Another guy co founded Redfin. There's just incredible people there because they take that time. And I'm looking at your calendar right now for your next 5 events, which, folks, if your interest is piqued, growingyourbusiness.com, there's all 5 of the next events here, both this year and up into 2022. I'm looking at these dates and thinking, okay, where in here? Because I know it's going to be in some ways unpleasant, right? Burying your soul, showing up to do the work. Well, it's like running a marathon or climbing Mount Rainier, perhaps. It's not entirely comfortable. I've climbed Mount Rainier twice now, and neither time was comfortable. Both times were sort of awful, but I did it a second time, obviously. But having had climbed Mount Rainier, ooh, Mark, there's the sweet spot. I am very happy that I have climbed Mount Rainier. So even as I look at my thoughts of, I'm not really ready, I'm not enough, I can also look at this and say, wow, what's going to happen from 2 days? This is incredible. 2 days of complete focus.
Well, I often share, Brian, that the best time for somebody to attend an achiever circle or the best time for somebody to work with me one on one is when the time is right for him or her. We won't always know behind the curtain, maybe the real reason why you've delayed your decision. But as you heard me share 6 years ago and have read in my books, the power of resetting your counters to zero every 30 days and letting go of the good, the bad, the ugly, or even the great that happened yesterday or last week or last year. And it's a difficult practice to adopt and adapt to, but there's always this moment of we celebrate our results, we reward our activity, we reset our counters to zero every 30 days, regardless of what happened yesterday, as we move forward to where we want to go. From a focus perspective, the second most difficult question for entrepreneurs to answer is, what do you want? The first most difficult question for entrepreneurs and professionals to answer is, what are you willing to do in order to get more of what you want? There are people that have a bit of a love-hate relationship with me, and they will love or respect me because, gosh, I just make so much sense. But then they kind of hate me too because I just make too much sense.
Well, you cut through the BS, is how I would phrase it.
Yeah.
And I see this in my work where I work with companies, helping them develop better systems. And often that involves looking at the systems that exist. I've looked inside countless companies in 9 years where the founders or the CMO, they're not proud of their systems. Some of them are working great, which is why they're still in business. Some of them are just embarrassing, and they know it's embarrassing. And they're like, wow, this is embarrassing. What should we do? And I got to tell you, Mark, I actually have a little bit of adrenaline because I just signed up for your Achiever Circle while we're doing this interview. I thought, I've been putting this off because last year's the first time I actually said to Kylie, I'm doing it now, but I've been thinking about it for over half a decade. And I was looking at your calendar. I was thinking, okay, here's why those times won't work. Well, when's the first time that I know that there's definitely nothing on the calendar right then? So I just put on my calendar Emailed Kylie, said, okay, sign me up for this date. Because at some point, it's like going to Vipassana or climbing Mount Rainier for that matter. It's not going to be comfortable all the time. But if you know you're going to get results, you should just go do it if you're actually committed, right, to your business and your mission.
Hmm.
And part of the accelerator, which I think I'm more clear on my mission than ever, is finding those generationally minded entrepreneurs, that is, people who are in how they do business and what they are selling, making the world better for their great grandchildren they'll never meet, finding those people and amplifying them. And that's what I'm doing. And the way that I'm doing it is by supporting them and increasing cash flow. And the way I'm doing that is by helping them deploy better systems.
I gotta think, in your world, with the people that you serve best, I'm gonna guess that you have prospects who feel the same way about working with you as maybe you did about registering for an Achiever Circle.
I'm sure.
I know I need Brian. I know I need to put better systems in place. I'm kind of proud of this system over here, but I've got this other one that's a little bit weak, and then I'm really embarrassed about these other three. I think it'd be better if we kind of whip those into shape a little better before we ask Brian for his help.
100%. Well, and why would you pay someone for my one on one time a pile of money to go do things that you already know what to do?
Yeah.
That's stupid, right? Except here's the truth of the thing: your book, the Growing Your Business book, what does it weigh? It weighs like as much as an apple, not even that. It's a tiny book. That's why I took it on the bicycle trip. That's why I was able to go take a crate to go give out that speech that I gave. And if you just read that book and go take 5 post-it notes, read the book, takes you 1 hour, and just put post-it notes on the 5 pages that have the most important thing to do, and then go do those things. There we go. That's your consulting deal for the day. It's easy because you just do these simple things, except there's all this resistance, right, to the things we know we ought to do. And that's one of the things really with the Achiever Circle. That's one of my pieces of resistance to that is, oh man, it's 2 days of complete focus, nothing else. Clear your
Hmm.
schedule, right? Complete focus. Well, you have to really be committed to spend 2 days, Friday afternoon through Sunday. Tell your spouse, hey, I'm not here. I'm physically here, but I'm not here. To spend that kind of commitment and focus on one thing, you have to really believe in it, which it's not just believing in your systems, Mark, it's also believing in me, right? And my business, and that I deserve to go to this kind of thing, and that my clients deserve the kind of results that will show up in me.
Brian, who in their right mind needs 10 days to go and be silent?
I think in that question, you hit the exact point on the head. No one in their right mind does. It's that none of us are in our right mind.
Correct.
There's no possible way I can communicate to you what happened to me. And maybe the first time when I quit halfway through, but the second time, 10 days that I completed the thing. If you've also gone to Vipassana, then we can have a conversation that may or may not make sense. But until you've gone, until you've committed to yourself like that, in the same way, it's like you with the Camino. If folks don't know, the Camino is this long trail in Spain, and Mark keeps on walking it again and again. I imagine you could talk to me about the Camino all you want. And I'm a mountain climber, I'm an active guy. But because I've not done the Camino, what can you tell me about it? Well, you walk a long time. But that's like 1% of the story. I can't see the rest though because I've not paid the entry fee to walk through there. And like with this Achiever Circle, how will I know? I've never done a 2 day retreat for me. I've done one with a client for them, and I saw her make incredible life changing moves. That was very satisfying. But I've never gone and invested that in me until now, where March 18th through 20th of 2022, I know where I am.
I've never had somebody register for an Achiever Circle while they were interviewing me, so this is now going to go on my list of achievements.
Well, there's a time where you just got to ask yourself, are you full of it or are you committed? As my father says, there's only two kinds of people in the world: those who just talk about it and those who get it done. And you got to decide which you're going to be.
How smart is he? Now, I want to just point out that one thing you will hear me say that I'm not sure you heard me say 6 years ago when you last heard me speak was listening is the greatest gift that you can give another person.
Hmm.
Silence is the greatest gift you can give yourself. And so your gift of a 10-day silent retreat is just astounding. And you are right. You can talk about how great the experience was, how much you learned, but until somebody goes through that, or until somebody walks 500 miles across Spain, it's just a nice conversation. But when two people who have done the 10-day retreat or walked 500 miles across Spain, that's a whole depth of conversation that is just amazing. So I want to take a moment to just honor and acknowledge you for giving yourself the gift of 10 days.
Changed my life.
And actually, also, maybe even more important was the resolve. You had to find it in yourself to go back after you had quit.
Well, I'll tell you the moment. I got to tell the story now. So I tried to quit again, and it turns out that the in person teachers there, who are the only people you can talk to mostly, and even them only by appointment, their job is to try to convince you not to leave, right? Because of course you want to leave. You're not insane. Sitting for 10 days silently, that's insane. And I go there, and we're on day 5 or so. And of course, part of the fun of Vipassana is don't give away the secret. So I won't tell you what we were doing. And don't look it up in advance because that will taint your experience. I was trying to leave. And the teacher said to me, oh, and because I was in massive pain, Mark, from just sitting most of the day, every day, incredible back pain. Never experienced that before in my life. And the teacher says, well, sometimes pain in the body is actually emotional or spiritual pain that's working its way out. It took a long time to put the trauma into you, takes a long time to get it out. What if, instead of fighting the pain, what if you stopped fighting? I don't remember a lot of that 10 days. It all blends together, but I remember this. After that, I went to sit down for our next meditation, and I went and I did the particular kind of meditation we were doing. And about 10 or 15 minutes in, the pain started back up. This fire in my spine, starting at the base of my spine, going up. Never experienced pain anything like this. Just like fire, just horrible. And I remember smiling inwardly because, of course, we don't move at all. We're completely oh, by the way, we're still. We're not silent. You're also still for 10 days, basically. And I remember smiling inwardly and saying to myself, pain, my old friend. And that has stuck with me my entire life. Wow, pain is this beautiful way your body's talking to you.
That's profound.
Well, so last week, I discovered I had a infected root canal. If you've ever had one of those, it involves a significant amount of pain. And in the process of addressing that, there was a lot of pain involved. And at various times, I got to, and I didn't think of Vipassana directly, but I got to sit with it and say, wow, I'm so thankful for all this pain and this transition to a healthier reality. Thank you, body, for sharing all this pain with me, helping me understand what's happening. And I can draw, looking back, I can draw a direct line from Vipassana to being as at peace as I was with this very painful dental experience.
Hmm.
And Mount Rainier, and this, and that. It's everywhere. That when you invest in yourself in a serious way, it impacts everything. It can't help not. And I have no idea who I'm going to be after my Achiever Circle, March 18th to 20th, 2022. But I'm excited to meet that guy, and I'm excited to meet that business.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to look forward to that.
It's going to be a kick. We've been talking for quite a while. Let me just share your website here, growingyourbusiness.com. This is where, folks, you can see Mark's books, but critically, it has the Achievers Circle on there. And I'm just going to read off the dates here. We have September 10th to 12th, 2021, November 5th to 7th. Then we have January 21st to 23rd of 2022. We have March 18th to 20th, where I'll be. And we have May 6th to 8th. If you are taking your business seriously, as in this is what you're doing and this is what you're going to be doing for a while, and you want to do it really, really good, then this is one of the 2 most important retreats you could possibly attend. I say that having not actually gone, but Mark, what you don't know is that I quote you once a month, twice a month. You said the thing that I quote a few minutes ago. I've forgotten what it was, but you said something where I think, wait a minute, I say that all the time. And then I realized, oh man, I'm quoting Mark. I hope I give him credit.
Oh, that's great.
I don't even know what it was that you said. It was some very good phrase. Like, that's a complete part of my lexicon, internalized.
And that's the way we're supposed to be in the world, is to listen, to absorb, to learn, to share. And when something becomes so much a part of us, we can't just go around every day, all day, quoting everyone else. If we are, then we're really just a book report. But when it reaches your core,
Hmm.
which it sounds like maybe some of the practices or pearls of wisdom or a principle here or there that you took from me or learned from me, And you've just made it so much a part of who you are and what you stand for. Just keep sharing it. Don't worry whether you gave me credit or give me credit in the future or not. It's more important to share it.
I think I need to go back and reread Growing Your Business just to find out how many other things do I say that I'm actually just quoting Mark. I'm going to leave it here, folks. I'm going to go read these 4 things you're going to get from the Achiever Circle, which you can find at growingyourbusiness.com. Here's these 4 things, which I hope from this half hour with Mark and I, you can see how this could be true for you. Number 1 is how you can grow your business. Number 2 is how you can put more money in your pocket as a business owner. Number 3 is how you can keep your fun meter on max. And number 4 is how to create balance between home and work. If you want more of those 4 things in your life, growingyourbusiness.com is the place to go. And maybe I'll see you at an Achiever Circle. Mark, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Brian.